Okay, this week on the podcast, what's it called? Off the Mat, thank you. We have my business partner, longtime friend, Chris Mee. He's what they call a striker.
I was worried what you were going to say then. He's what we call
Striker.
an asshole.
Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you very much, sir.
Just a conversation between two dudes. Obviously, full disclosure, we are pretty good friends and we are business partners. But, you know, I'd like to start it off. I was thinking about it on the way in. So we used to train together at a gym called Titans. It's probably where we first met, is it?
Yeah.
Was it Woomer or Titans?
I think we met at Woomer for like 3 classes. Titans for 3 classes.
Yeah.
Then
cool.
it was like...
Your memory's a lot better than mine.
I don't know.
And then you were my jiu-jitsu coach for a little bit. And then you went down the Muay Thai route. I went down the grappling route. So I just start off. What was it about that journey then that you were like, you know what? Striking, Muay Thai. That's what I want to do.
Do you know, something happened where...
where did he touch you?
Yes, get a doll. Like,
Points me on the doll.
Here. No, there was an MMA interclub, so I was training. We were training both out of Titans. There was Titans MMA and Titans Muay Thai, and there was an MMA interclub going on, but it was in a quarter-size ring. You remember what they were like?
Yeah.
And I got clipped. I did something wrong. I left my head out too far when I was clinching. This guy throwing some knees in. This overhand came in, and I got smushed a bit. But like, I'm a range striker. I'm not an in the pocket kind of guy at all. And I like being on the outside. And when you're doing it in a quarter size ring, I mean, it was it 3.5 meters by 3.5 meters?
Yeah, something like that.
It was tiny. And I just remember sitting there afterwards being like, I don't see the progression that gets me from fighting on a 3-meter ring to fighting in the UFC. So I was like, well, with the Muay Thai, I could see a progression to fighting on bigger shows and fighting as a pro.
Yeah.
And that was
right. So it was more your road to professional fighting rather than the style that you loved.
Yeah. I mean, I love jiu-jitsu. I've never been a fan of wrestling.
No,
but striking was striking was always my thing.
Yeah.
I think it was weird because at Titans, the Thai boxing guys knew me as a kickboxer grappler.
Yeah.
And then you guys knew me as a
striker.
Yeah, as a striker. So,
but nobody knew you as a wrestler.
Nobody knows me as a wrestler. Oh, you don't know?
Oh, that's cool. Because I always thought it was like that. You just preferred the Muay Thai side of things rather than.
I fucking love jiu-jitsu. Dude. It's a big misconception that people think, like the jiu-jitsu guys up here that don't know. Because I'm injury ridden, so I don't get to roll anymore. I would love to roll, but my body just
not going to have it.
Just can't.
And do you think that's because of the training you did? Or?
I think a lot of it's hereditary issues. There's a lot of arthritis in my family, and
You got Down syndrome, right?
And Down syndrome.
Something about your tongue.
Something about my tongue and Down syndrome.
Never even heard of it. Googled it. I was like, damn, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
You got Down syndrome tongue. Okay.
Yeah. I've got cracked tongue. Yeah. I got all sorts of crazy shit wrong with me.
Cool. So, you agree with me then? Jiu-jitsu is better.
I didn't say that. Wow. It's better than wrestling.
That's how I'm gonna edit it.
There's going to be a lot like blocky bits. That's why I'm moving so much.
The clock behind us is like.
I don't want to make the speed mistake by moving the bag. You know.
Yeah. You got no top on in a minute. Like.
I just keep moving my phone from side to side so everybody can tell when you've edited it.
So okay. So striking clinic. That's your baby. You want to give it a little sell. So styles wise, Thai boxing probably isn't what you would say you're doing, right?
No.
And my coach Mick Broster, who's a good striker himself, he's more of a peekaboo MMA boxing style. So he is in the pocket. He is going on the inside. So I suppose the thing that I've learned watching you coach and watching the striking clinic evolve is just how many different styles and different. Like I knew of a few. Like I got a black belt in Taekwondo myself, which is ridiculous, but it's a style. Yeah, it doesn't work, but it's a style. But obviously I didn't realize just how you say to me Thai boxing, I'm like, oh, Thai boxing, and then you're like, oh no, K1, and I'm like.
Yeah, okay. That's the hardest thing. So I've put kickboxing or K1 kickboxing and Muay Thai on my logo because people don't really know what K1 is. And when you say kickboxing to people, they immediately think side on, slap fighting, got to kick above the waist.
Points. Yeah.
And it ain't what we do. I mean, what I tend to say to people when they're in the gym is that this is like functional striking that would work across all sports, as in all striking sports. So from kickboxing, from K1 to Muay Thai and MMA. But I think the jump between what Muay Thai striking is and what MMA striking is too far for them to cross well.
Yeah.
Whereas K1 to MMA,
even the stance, like traditional Muay Thai to MMA, they're just so that you couldn't.
Worlds apart.
Yeah, so you couldn't really use it, could you? Like you're going to get taken down to back to the wrestling point, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly certain aspects that you could use. I'm not saying all Muay Thai is terrible for MMA. There's a lot that you could take away.
Edit point. All Muay Thai is terrible. So all Muay Thai is terrible. Dude, I love Jiu-Jitsu.
But you've got to know its limitations in the end.
So you're a range fighter. Mm-hmm. You like to be on the outside. Not a big kicker these days, I suppose.
I need a double hip replacement.
Yeah, so that takes that away. Yeah. So how does that then transition into the MMA world? Are you like working to get on the inside to set the takedowns up, or are you?
Yeah. So for my guys, for what I work in for them is, if we're doing K1, it's on being on certain ranges and understanding your ranges for your strengths. But if we're just outside of a boxing range, we're looking for knees.
Yeah.
Or with the MMA guys, if we're looking to close that gap, we're looking to use strikes, normally punches to close the gap and get inside.
Yeah.
Before we're setting up.
So a lot of boxing then. So boxing's a big part of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
with an MMA stance and a sprawl in mind, I suppose.
There is certainly. I mean, I don't ever give people things like a 4 or a 5-piece kicking combination. You know, where we're because you rarely see it even at the highest levels of MMA. You'd have to be fighting somebody who really didn't know what he was doing in order for that to work. But it'll be. I tend to do lots of broken down combinations, so you could do it at any pace, at any rate. So it'll be like a 2-piece. You'll go in with a 2-3, boom, boom, make a bit of space, throw a kick, step back, kick again, throw a 2, and in on the shot.
So keeping them at range with techniques rather, so they couldn't just run at you. Yeah, I suppose if they did, you would never change and shoot anyway. So
exactly,
you're adding the rest.
And there's never. I mean, if I'm coaching, it is rare that I would put a 3-piece combination, a 3-piece boxing combination together without some sort of movement, slip, kick in between. Because I think by the time you've thrown a second or your third or fourth punch, that's when the gap would be closed to be shot in. And
well, as a jiu-jitsu guy, I'm already bored. So
we knew that one take long.
So I suppose it's wicked watching the striking clinic grow from what it was. Obviously we teamed up. We used to we worked together at a gym in Banbury. Sort of accidentally, I came through the door for a sit down with the guy and was like, "What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?" Yeah. And then that went sour, as these things do. You were pushed out for whatever reason.
Yeah, too many cooks.
Too many cooks for the drugs. And then I continued to teach. You started up the striking clinic before. Am I right in saying that?
I think when I left, I set up the striking clinic, and it began to pick up some momentum. And then my venue just, the guy walked in on one class and was like, by the way, you're out. I was like, shit.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for all the warning.
But I think anybody who runs a gym like this or this sort of facility has got that story. I mean, this is my 4th location.
Oh yeah.
So like before we settled here, and I'm probably not the last. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen with us? But we're both growing pretty quickly, so it's like who knows where we're going to end up or what it's going to look like, But it's real nice to see it grow into what it is today, I'd say. And it's quite nice now because we're at 10th Planet. We're upstairs. It's a 2-level thing. We're upstairs, so I walk downstairs, and there's people down there that I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. They don't know that I pay the bills. They're standing in my way. I get all like, move out the bloody way! Like, I'm trying to get to the office.
Just another nerd in a rash.
Dude, one of your members literally called me out. Like, I won't name names, but came out of change room. He was like, fuck off. I was like, dude, first of all, those are my stairs. That's my changing room you're using.
Yeah, it's been an emotional journey, and I do. It's nice to have a complete split of members now, because when we first started it up, it was like you had all your jiu-jitsu guys, and some of them were interested in MMA, and that's where I came in and filled the gap.
Yeah.
But then from there, it took a long time to do, to be fair.
Yeah, but now you've got your own team.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really nice to see. The jiu-jitsu numbers are slightly ahead because jiu-jitsu is better. 5-year head start will do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So the main question then, in a real, not MMA, no one's training.
Mm-hmm.
They got to train a bit though, won't you? That's the problem. If you're completely empty, striking's probably the one, right?
Yeah.
How are we going to answer this question? You're just never going to be able to answer the question of striking or grappling, are you? You can't answer that question.
No, especially.
So I'm a newbie, right? Mm-hmm. Sell to me why I've only got enough money to do one membership. It's either with Gav,
right,
or
okay.
you can't go on looks.
Here it is, right? In all of my years of striking, I have never had somebody else's sweat in my mouth.
Okay, I'm switching. I'm coming over. Take this.
Let's do it.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is gross. I will give you that. But from a purely self-defense point of view, okay. No, try and word it this way. What would you rather your wife or girlfriend learn?
That is true. I think
if you take size, strength,
wrestling. No. For the ladies, I'd certainly say jiu-jitsu through and through.
Yeah.
I think there are people here, and I don't mean this in any fucking disrespectful way to yourself or anybody else other than the faggot. No.
Here we go.
So there are people here that are like higher level, so they're graded, they've got a blue belt, purple belt, whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh, I've got to start training with you because I've never thrown a punch in my life."
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, you don't know how much you don't know about martial arts as a whole if you are just doing one. Like if you've never done another. Yeah. Like that's the thing where you and I have more experience than everybody else because we've done a bit of striking, we've done a bit of jiu-jitsu, we've done some wrestling, some MMA.
Yeah.
We've competed across a broad spectrum of anything that we could get our hands on at the time.
Yeah, so true. And I suppose when we were coming up, it was so rare to find a gym that you had to train at 3 different gyms just to get a half decent,
Yeah. There wasn't anything like this when we were like, I remember seeing the Titans gym, and this isn't me. I'm certainly not dogging on it, and I haven't been there for years, so it could be gold plated at this point, and I wouldn't know. But it was like a little old scout hut, and there was a few water stains on the ceiling and stuff. But it was designated, like it had a matted area that stayed down. We weren't putting mats away at the end of class and stuff.
No,
and that was a massive first for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I remember getting driven into the wall, and my rash guard was left behind as I came off on a screw. I was like, okay.
OSB is not the best wrestling wall that you could have.
But that's where I've got to say, I look back on those times really fondly, man. That was my intro to it. That was what made me realize that lesson that because there's people out there that are training Krav Maga that think they're a complete fighter, and I'll say, if you're not sparring, how do you know? And when I say sparring, like I've got a combat jiu-jitsu match coming up in a few days. It's really like it's been so much fun to open up that aspect of the game again. Like just like yesterday, I did the MMA class with Mick Brosser, and I was like, dude, it feels like the old days. My lips are fat. I've got some sore, need some ice. But it was real fun, and it just made me realise like I've lived in this bubble of jiu-jitsu for a good 5 years, 10 years now, and it was nice just to open it up again. Don't get me wrong, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy through and through, and I'm just in love with jiu-jitsu. Like,
but it's the perfect test for your jiu-jitsu is to take it up a level where. Let's see how applicable it is.
Yeah, and to that point, the reason why I'm here campaigning for jiu-jitsu being the best, I'm not really, I'm only joking, but the striking aspect has made it easier for me to roll with people. So all the rounds that I've been doing, when I go back to no striking, nobody opening up, nobody leaving their weight in what places they shouldn't leave, I'm going to find it. I'm going to be like, oh, back to the chess game then.
Yeah.
We're doing some rounds with Zach Ford, bless him, great grappler, good MMA guy. And every time he tried to hit me, I was like, oh, cool, space. I'll never get this much space upstairs. This is lovely, So I think a good grappling base, and I would say this because it's who I am, is the king. Like, you got to have it. Obviously, you've got to be able to wrestle because you need to get the fight to wherever you want it to go.
Yeah.
But where in this am I seeing I have to be a good striker? I'm not a good striker. I know enough that I can handle myself. Last time I did any sort of boxing, I blew my own bicep off, which would suggest how good my striking is.
We can work on that test.
Yeah,
we can refine that a little bit.
You actually don't flow looping left hooks like that. No, it's funny, that, isn't it?
Complete hyperextension of the hop.
It certainly was enough to ping the bicep off. But you know, like I'm seeing, like, okay, I want to wrestle, get it to the ground, strike on the ground by all means, which you coach a lot of, right?
Bits and pieces from very specific areas.
Enough,
but the rest of it is...
But that's what I'm loving about the training program at this gym between the two of us is we've got that understanding, but we understand that positional wrestling, jiu-jitsu comes first, and then you add the strikes. It's never like unload, even in mount. It's not unload.
No,
it's like,
no.
And we were doing this yesterday, bang, 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 but then he starts to grapple again, address the grappling.
Strikes or ground and pounded strikes to complement your jiu-jitsu, not the other way around.
The Damien Maia approach. Yeah, man, couldn't agree more.
See, can I run one past you?
Go on.
Right? So I've heard people say that like MMA rules benefit the striker over the grappler. Now I think especially like UFC rules, I think it's the other way around because of no knees to the head on the ground and because of no sucker kicks or head stumps. I think there was less jiu-jitsu, less submissions and less jiu-jitsu seen in pride rules in comparison to the UFC because I think that does limit
the danger of the strikes on the ground.
Yeah.
I think though, when you're talking about a professional organisation like that, it's not the right way to judge it because they're all good. Everyone's already good, you know. So obviously we are talking about that, and you know, I'm not going to swerve the question. But if like a sucker kick on the ground to a good jiu-jitsu guy is like this. That should never happen. Like, where have you got the space from to bring your leg back? What kind of weight distribution have you got on the person if you're on your feet, soccer kicking the person, you know? But a gassed person who's on his knees like this, already rocked, then man, you know, like obviously that's going to have a devastating effect. But I think as long as you understand jiu-jitsu, MMA jiu-jitsu is easier, but in certain positions, like you're not going to be playing reverse De La Heave with some dude that can just boom, you know, in certain positions, probably not, you know. But you look at Ryan Hall and what he did to BJ Penn with the Imanari roll or the variation of an Imanari roll. If you're that good at it, if you're a world-class master, then I think you could get away with it. But yeah, I've got to say, opening up for strikes makes competition jiu-jitsu easier. Whether or not that's true of like out there in the real world.
We'll find out Saturday, won't we?
We will. Yeah, we will. Yeah. But he's a black belt too, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the rounds, to be fair, have been easier for me.
Easier for me.
Even if I'm on my back, like, so half guard would be a pretty bad position to be in if you could throw strikes.
Yeah, of course.
No, for me, they're coming up to hit me, the weight's coming off me, and I'm like, oh, cool, space.
Yeah.
And now I've wrestled up and I'm on top, and I'm like, cool. So it's made it easier. But I'm intrigued to find out. Next week's podcast, I might be like this with a bag of peas on my head, like, yeah, that didn't fucking work. Can I book some privates, Chris? I'm like, need some work.
We'll talk, mate. We'll talk. And then how long until the gi is obsolete?
Oh, the gi. It's already...
It's already... I got 5 years ago.
I got Chris Fenson coming in to argue the case for the gi. So we're going to do no gi versus gi. I'd say the money for the sport is in no gi.
Yeah.
And the new wave of students and the new wave of the way people coach at gyms are going to follow the money because everything follows the money. I don't think it'll ever be completely obsolete. You know, there's people out there that still train Krav. So, so I don't think it'll ever be completely obsolete. And the gi is a great, it's a great sport. It's really, you know, it's not as fun to watch as no gi. It's certainly not as fun to watch as even combat jiu-jitsu and no gi jiu-jitsu. The atmosphere changes. Like when you are at an event where there's two different sorts of, you watch the no gi and it's like, oh yeah, cool, and people are clapping like they're at a golf tournament, and then the combat jiu-jitsu people come out and it's like, whew, it just changes the atmosphere. And then the MMA guys at the next level, and you know, so
see, I'd say having taken a long time off jiu-jitsu, so I probably stopped doing any jiu-jitsu only as like a hobbyist, maybe doing drop-ins and things coming up to your classes and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe 2009, 2010. And so I've taken a long time off, and then coming back into it and watching it, watching competitions and the sports and quintets and things.
Yeah.
Even that Polaris show that you were on.
Yeah.
Gi jiu-jitsu, I recognize, but it's boring. And no gi jiu-jitsu, for the most part, it's unrecognizable from what I used to do.
Yeah, like it's you're right. So I think back when we were training, so that's got to be what 10 years ago, maybe something like that. That it was no gi was just gi, but with no gi on, and it was like we have to overhook a bit more, and you've got to control the head a bit more because we haven't got the gi to grab hold of. But now, like especially with the arrival of 10th Planet and loads of other systems as well, I'm singing 10th Planet because it's my sport. But dude, the guard and the game and the playing off your back, jiu-jitsu off your back now is like it used to just be you got to get on top or you can triangle or armbar. Yeah. But now it's like you got a whole system. There's a whole the arrival of leg locks over the last sort of 5 years, 10 years has just been like it's an explosion of and now the defenses to leg locks are as good as the attack. So it's weird though because it's almost going backwards now. Like you're getting the new wave of grappler is like really good leg lock defense, really good leg locks, but also savage back control, really good triangles, really good stuff off their back. So you might find that it becomes a bit more recognizable. Maybe, but then there is some like buggies and
guys out there doing completely crazy shit.
There is, and you know what? 10th Planet's not even like we're not even that crazy anymore. Like everyone's doing it. Yeah, people like it's quite good to see Mason Fowler hit a meat hook triangle setup. Something that we've been doing at 10th Planet for 20 years, and he's now hitting at a high level. Is the same evolution? Has it happened in striking or?
So I would say.
So I remember Bang Muay Thai came out years ago. And that was like, oh, a new thing Dwayne's doing. Check this out. TJ's killing with it. Still going, or
I think so. For me, I think the first evolution you saw was people doing multi-stance fighting. So you would not only be orthodox, but you'd also be southpaw. This is especially in MMA.
Yeah.
And you'll see people doing things. There's things I don't typically like where when you step through, I'll see people change his stance and going towards, but you're broadening your center line on the way in. Yeah. And it's a bit of a no-no.
Get caught,
yeah. But the people have their little adaptations to it where they're throwing on the step and they're faking on the step and things. Yeah. But I also think there's normally waves of styles and then there's certain things that are hitting. Like the latest one is spinning shit.
Okay.
On with a purpose. So it's not just standing in front of each other, fuck it, I can hit them with a spinning hook kick here. Yeah. It is baiting people to walk away from your power side. So you throw the right hand, you throw a high kick on this side, and they start thinking, avoid, and they start arcing away to keep safe. And it ain't because you've got that long range hook kick.
All right, so you're becoming into because correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be a Conor McGregor thing. They would walk this way and he'd try and...
Conor was doing it years ago. The Seaver fight.
That's what I was about to say, yeah. It looked like, even though Seaver's the spinning back kick guy, it looked like he was doing some of his own.
Yeah. But that 145 Conor was doing a different thing. Everybody thinks of Conor McGregor nowadays.
Well, we got to see even the Cage Warriors days, we got to see him coming up. And from a striker's point of view, he's got to have been like your golden goose for bringing people into the gym because he's obviously that was the best part of his game. So, but you remember, what's his name? The guy that knocked out Terry Etten with that spinning
Edson Barbosa.
Dude, that's some spinning stuff there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
textbook. And it was almost telegraphed as well. Like obviously, having a little bit of experience with spinning stuff as you way he just set his hips and then you see it coming a mile away. But
because you don't spar many people that style, you don't see that. I remember we had a lad that was matched up to fight a kickboxing champion. He was like a world champion, British champion, whatever. Ollie Sykes.
Oh yeah.
And when we were training, I would do things like switching my hip over, and everybody's reaction is to like push down or try and get your hands to it, and that's a massive no-no for striking.
Well, I remember the guy got caught.
Yeah.
Went on to win.
Yeah.
Great performance. But I do remember him getting caught.
Yeah.
So it just shows you.
There's a place for it there.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, all these old Muay Thai coaches, people like me with no hips and no knees, are trying to demonstrate jumping, spinning.
Well, tell me about it, man. Like, I'm not a buggy choke dude. Everyone's like, buggy choke this. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna try and teach you. 5'8", dude. I'm fat. Like, you can't make me do this.
Like, I'll breathe in and pull this up until it cracks.
Last question, then, because we've probably gone over.
Yeah.
You're a bit of a controversial character.
I have been behaving for the longest time.
Yeah, we had a spot above her this time last year, didn't we? Don't ever change.
Just a drop.
Because I love you for it. Obviously, we've got to be careful with upsetting certain people. But do you find that your sense of humour and your very sharp tongue is a coach's aid? Or do you have to like watch back? Because sometimes I say stuff and the room doesn't react and I know I've gone too far. But I do kind of like it because it makes me laugh inside. I'm like, oh, that was too much.
So my view on it is this our gym or the sport itself will always be a safe space for being a bit of a dick. All right?
Almost like a venting place for what people would call toxic masculinity and femininity as well, but mainly it's a male dominated sport, and that's one for another podcast which is coming up as well. But I think you're right. I was talking to this with my mother-in-law, and she was saying, "Oh, you don't like going to the gym, a mixed gender gym. Oh, the guys there with their vests on and they're slamming the weights and they're doing this." And I was like, "No, but guys need a place where you can do that."
Yeah.
And I like to think of my gym, and your sense of humor is even like way darker than mine. Yeah. But it's like a safe haven where that can happen. And as long as it's not, the jokes aren't being told with hatred, or, there's nothing like horrible in there, and you should be able to make these jokes.
So I've got a tester that,
oh God.
So we have beginners classes and all the.
And anyway, thank you very much for.
So my tester will be when I get the newbies walking in stance just to finish off the warm up, a few steps forwards, a few steps back, we add some hands in. But when people are struggling with stance, I'll say, "Oh, you need to widen your stance," and everybody always goes longer. Yeah. And I go, "No, we talk about stance the same way we talk about dicks. This is length, this is width." And if they laugh at that,
we're in,
we're on. We're going to get on absolutely fine. I think my sense of humor has lost me members in the past.
Yeah.
One of the prime examples, a couple came together. Just a young couple, probably early 20s, 21, 22.
I haven't heard this story, so I'm on the edge of my seat.
And they're hitting, on some of our beginners class, we hit bags. So we come up with a combination and they rep it up. And the guy's hitting it and he's never thrown a punch before in his life. And the girl is a bit more athletic. Maybe she's played some other sports. She's a bit more coordinated and she's starting to get like a bit of a pop when she's doing it. And it's all hitting right. The kicks are coming out nice and he's not. And I come over and I say, "Fucking hell. If somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night, you're better off sending her down than going down yourself." They never came back. Never came back.
But you know what? That's not a bad joke.
No,
that's not.
Yeah, I think he did take it. You could see it in his eyes immediately, where he's like, "Oh," it's like, "No, you need more of this, not less." But
then that it's probably just not the environment for him.
Yeah,
maybe go do something else. I don't know, but I don't know where you would find it. But he's obviously. It's not the right place, is it? I lost a member not so long ago. It was in the group chat, so that both teams have got group chats. And one of our guys, Brad, I don't know if I can tell this story. I'm going to tell it, and I don't mean any offense. And it's just the same as yours. It's just not the right place for this person. But Brad is a very good friend of ours, and we were remarking that we were calling him Brad Therapist, sort of joking the fact that he's a rapist. He's not.
He's not.
Should we got to cut this out?
Just as far as we're aware, he's not a rapist.
I'm not going to guarantee, but he's probably. And there's that sense of humour again, right? And one of the members of the group took real exception to the use of that word, even though we didn't technically use that word, but real exception to it, and cancelled all the memberships, and didn't have a fallout. Certainly didn't have any fallout, but I was refunding kit that they'd bought and stuff like that. And I just remember thinking to myself when she cancelled that it's probably for the best. Because that joke is the sort of jokes that you're going to find in an environment.
If it wasn't that joke, it would have been another.
Yeah, but the fact that even though I'm telling that story and I'm a bit like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to have to cut this out. I don't know." The fact that I'm doing that is horrible because it's like I don't want to have to do that.
The only reason you're on eggshells about it is because you don't want people there's 250 members in your group.
Yeah.
And one person took offense to it.
Yeah, true.
It's just that out there.
And I've got things that trigger me. One of those things is
fucking right.
I just that's another story. We won't get into.
We won't touch that one.
But one thing I will say is, as a coach, you have to have the room's respect. If you haven't got the room's respect, like my coach Mick Brosser, I've got so much respect for that guy. I get. When he's watching me roll, I still make mistakes that I would never normally make. But that respect is good. It's a good thing. It's a healthy thing for you to have with your coach. And that's not to say that coaches are bulletproof and you never get tapped and you never get challenged. But that respect has to remain. And if it doesn't, you probably come to the end of your journey. But back to the sense of humor thing. Nothing has ever been, as far as I'm aware, said. And if it has been, it's been dealt with malice or hatred or ill intent. It's all just sense of humor. And I think if you take offense to that, That's your personal thing. Like, I take offense to jokes about Down syndrome people, not for any reason. I just don't like it. But then a second ago, you know,
bantering me about
it's my thing. It's not your thing to mommy cuddle around me around. But the respect thing is different. You should respect the coach. You can't be. I remember watching a guy coaching once. Sorry to cut you up. And people were running around the room getting warmed up, and they were slapping the coach on the back of the head as they were running around, slapping him. And I remember saying to the guys, like, I tell you what, if my student did that to me, it would either be a playful, I'm putting them to sleep in the middle of the room, or I'd ask them to leave and to have 2 weeks off the gym. Don't come back for 2 weeks. You can't be doing that.
That's a spontaneous calf kick out of nowhere.
Too right.
It's not the one. It's not
absolutely
the one.
right.
Yeah, I think I've had banterous. You know, when we crack jokes and things, the lines do get blurry sometimes, and people will come over. I had one lad push me one time. Or like, no, it wasn't a push. It was a punch on the arm as I was coaching somebody over here. I turned and looked, and this guy punched me in the arm, and I was like, straight up to him, just, it ain't like that.
Yeah, we don't do
like,
that.
We don't do that. Like, that's
I'm
not,
the same.
That's
well, I was filming one of your sessions the other day, and you didn't know it was me, and I zoomed in with the camera just for a bit of a laugh to make the room laugh. I came right into your face and like nudged into you, and you whipped your head round. Like, I was like, whoa, dude, it's me. And I had it on camera. I was like, scary, Chris. See the camera like that.
Like, Wednesday night's a different mode, isn't it?
It is, man. But we're all here to train and get good, but you got to respect the coach, and not in a douchebag way. I'm not asking people to bow to me or call me professor or any of that stuff, but just don't slap me, don't, you know. But we can all make jokes and I think to your point about this being a safe haven for that kind of energy, it's one of the only places left where people can come in and hopefully in a nice way all have fun and crack a joke. And you know, I try and say to people when this situation happened, I fully support your decision to leave this environment because it's not for you. You know, you're more than welcome to stay, but you get it. Like, I'm not going to apologize for what happened because I'm not sorry. Like, in fact, I actively encourage, as long as there's no hatred. And there's been recently a bit of trouble with people being a bit aggy, and it just gets not in my gym, not me. Take it outside. I'm not telling you what to do out there, but this is my place of business. This is where I coach, and you know, maybe we're old school in that approach, but you know, you certainly don't want to offend anybody. I don't. In there's certain things you wouldn't say, but nobody would say those things because we're all nice people. You know?
I think there's a line where it's bullying, where people are coming after a specific person for a specific reason, and it's like they don't leave it alone. My thing is, if you find a humorous way to get your point across, I'm like, that's banter then.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
It's not just bullying. If I was just coming up to somebody being like, dude, you're fat, you're fat.
Every week, bang, 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 bang. You could see it's upsetting them.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't.
But if I'm trying to find like a creative way to.
Well, I said to somebody the other day, you can see this podcast, you can see we're mates because this podcast is 3 times longer than all the others. But I was saying to somebody the other day, it's not the things that we joke about that you should be feeling insecure about. It's the things we don't joke about. Like, not many people are joking about my mustache.
Dude,
which is telling me only one
insecurities about that.
We'll make jokes because that makes it better. Keep making jokes. Yeah. You know, I walked upstairs for the girls' class. It's for November. I'm not keeping this thing.
And they all screamed and ran away.
Dude, they were like, nobody laughed. Nobody mentioned it, and then Laura came up to me and she was like, dude, that's a look. And I was like, yeah, you like it? And she went, no. And I was like, I know it's bad.
Well, last year you shaved off completely, didn't you, for the grow out of November?
No, I did. The only last time I did that was when I went to that Eddie Bravo fancy dress party, and I only had the scruff at the bottom.
Oh no, it was that picture that came up.
Oh yeah, that was Titans. You said to me that iconic line, clean shaven Gav is single Gav.
Your wife ain't sticking around for that guy.
Dude, it's not a good look. I got a title fight next weekend. I've got this going on. I might grow it out for that day.
Is what it is, mate.
It's all for the boys. Good to chat to you, brother.
Let's call it, dude. Let's call it.
Love it.
Good work.
Oh, my legs are so dead.
I don't know how you sat completely still the whole time. I'm like, pain.